Hello, Tiger sports fans, and welcome to a new year, a new season of Tiger Athletics on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you as we kick off our coverage of this new year of Tiger Athletics with the Perry Thomas Show, joined as always now by head coach Perry Thomas. And Coach, the new season right here on top of us, the University of the Cumberlands this week. What's the mood around the locker room?
Well, guys are excited. You know, it's been a long off season. We had a great year last year and finished up in the playoffs, and then you go immediately into your off-season workouts in the winter and then spring ball and so forth. So they're excited to get the season going and to play up against another team. They've come through a pretty rough camp, and the football's in the air. It's time to go. It's time to play. The high schools have kicked off, so now it's time for a little college ball.
Well, you guys, you talked about that playoff appearance, Coach. How long were you able to maybe enjoy that just a little bit, your first trip there since coming to Campbellsville and taking over the reins of the university team? How much were you able to enjoy that a bit, even though it wasn't necessarily the result you wanted, but kind of a baby step along the road maybe to getting where you ultimately want to be?
Well, it was a huge step for us, huge step for our program, and we had an opportunity to, come out of it with a win, and we just came up a little short. But, we immediately started working as soon as it was over. Obviously, while we was in Chicago, our guys were recruiting. And, when you go to the playoffs or at Division I level to a bowl game, you immediately got to get on the recruits because that hits the impact. And so we had to catch it while it was hot and immediately go to work on, getting new guys in for this year and those guys we wanted. But at the same time, you're always enjoying it. It's, you're coaching a game and you're building men, and you want to have fun every time you go out and every time you're doing something. So we enjoyed it, but we had to go to work right immediately.
Well, you touched on actually my next question. How do you keep that momentum? Obviously, quickly trying to use that name recognition of being in the playoffs is one way to do that. But how do you keep the momentum going and keep that snowball kind of heading downhill and gaining steam as you continue to build and ultimately try to reach that championship game?
Well, first thing you have to do, obviously, is you have to address the recruiting, and you have to use all the success you had and the highlights and everything involved to get those recruits hungry about being in the program. And then with the returners, you have to, you just continue to talk about the positives of the success we had, but also how it hurt to lose up there at St. X, and how your goal is to get to the next level. And coming back to this summer, this fall was easy to get our guys motivated because, you walk into CAF and that Mid-South Conference football banner's not there anymore. So immediately we're telling them, everybody's forgot what we done last year. You have to go to work to start on a new season. Remember what got us there, and now let's build on that to get to that next level.
And how does that affect spring ball? Maybe a little more excitement around spring ball than you would see in some years? Well,
I think it was more excitement around spring ball, but also, it helped our retention. And I think that's part of it, part of our retention. We obviously you lose some players when you have as many guys as we have, but we had more returning this year. And I think part of it's probably the success we had last year and the enjoyment that everyone had being part of a winning program. So, you use that for all of those vehicles. And then the summer workouts when they go home. Remember what those guys had to sacrifice last year to get here. And, you're not defending champions, you're going after a new championship. So let's remember what you had to go through to get to that point and, go home and get your butt in shape and come back ready to go.
Well, the playoff appearance in the rearview mirror, the Mid-South Conference West Division Championship in the rearview mirror, Coach Thomas and company look to move forward now as they step into the 2015 season. We'll step away, we'll come back and take a look at maybe some of the coaching staff changes and also look at some changes in the Mid-South Conference West Division as well as the East Division here on the Perry Thomas Show. Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you as we talk with Coach Perry Thomas about the upcoming season for the Tigers. And Coach, every year it seems like there's a little bit of turnover on the coaching staff. Minimal change this year, though. You do bring in Will Snyder. He'll take over in the secondary. Briefly talk to us a little bit what Coach Snyder brings to the table there.
Well, Coach Snyder's been coaching at Cornell College for the past 4 years, helping in their secondary. And before that, he was at Waldorf for a couple of years. he came in with us, I think he started in January or February, so he's been here for spring ball. The guys know him. He does an excellent job. He's a very Christian man, has his actually undergrads in ministry, and he works real well with the guys. He relates to them well. Very motivated, younger guy than me, so he's got energy and flies around. And I think he's going to bring a solid base to our guys, not only as a football coach, but also as a man. And staffing is always an issue whenever you have to build staffs, because the staff has to be able to really blend. And I think part of our success last year, even though we had a much smaller staff than we've had in the past, I think part of our success was we had a staff that really worked well together in all phases, and that really related to the philosophy that we're trying to instill in our guys, not only the universities, but also mine, and the philosophy that I use, and they worked well together. And I think that made for a more, I don't know what the word is, but a happier season for the entire program, and made things just a little easier. And I think Will's going to come in and fit in well with what we're trying to do as a university and as a football program.
Well, familiar faces around the rest of the coaching staff. Dwight Houston, the alumni of Campbellsville University, he maintains his role as the linebackers coach. Vincent Davis, the D-line. However, on offense, a few changes, even though it's the same guys. Hunter Cantwell continues his coaching of the quarterbacks, but picks up running back duties.
Right.
And then Coach Garris, the offensive coordinator, takes over the offensive line. Coach Matt Atwood, staying with wide receivers. So talk to us a little bit about some of those changes offensively and what you hope to accomplish there.
Well, obviously we lost our offensive line coach last year in camp, and Coach Garris basically played two roles last year. He coached the offensive line and the running backs. Former player Caleb Crony helped us a little bit with the O-line, but Caleb's gone on, into the professional world, and Coach Garris is going to take the O-line by himself. It's hard to do those and the linebackers. Coach Cantwell's going to take the quarterbacks, obviously, but he's also going to work with the running backs. And they'll share some duties with those guys. If they're working on blocking, they'll be with Rick. If they're working on, passing and just ball handling drills, they'll be with Hunter. And so far, it's been working out well, and we'll evaluate it this year. And if things don't go the way we want, then next year we'll probably move one of the defensive guys over, and then I'll take a defensive role other than just coordinating. The problem with that is I can't be on the offensive end. So we're trying to work it out where I can be both places, and we can still get everyone's service like you need to be. And it's working out well right now. One of the good things for us is that we have good young men in the program in those positions, and they're very coachable. They don't fight the program, and you don't have to deal with a lot other than teaching them how to play football and building them as men. So that really helps.
Well, a few changes, minor changes there on the coaching staff for the Tigers, and also some changes in the conference. Coach Belhaven drops out. We knew that was coming, but Belhaven no longer a part of the conference. With that, they needed to adjust the alignment a bit. The East would have had 7 teams, the West with 5. They take one from the East, give it to the West. That team happens to be Lindsey Wilson College. Thanks a lot. And, so now Lindsey becomes kind of a good thing, because now you get to play them every year. You don't have to worry about them dropping off the schedule. But talk to us a little bit about that change in the conference.
Well, it's obviously it benefits the conference because it evens things up, but it's a challenge. It makes our side of the conference, the West Division, it's going to be a battle every week for everyone in it. You're talking about 3 teams that went to the playoffs last year in the West Division with us, Lindsey Wilson and Faulkner. You're talking about I think 2 teams that are in the top 10, top 11 right now with Faulkner and Lindsey. We're sitting there at 15 or 16, depending on the rankings. And Reinhardt's in there, I think receiving votes right around 25. Then you have Bethel, who won 5 of their last 6 games last year, and was champions 3 years in a row up until 2 years ago. And you also have Cumberland University, who beat us last year. So it's going to be a battle every week that you step on the field. 4, maybe 5 teams in there could easily be top 25 teams. So you're going to have to come to play. And the other side's going to be tough too. But obviously, I think that our side has from a playoff standpoint, a ranking standpoint, we just have the higher seeds right now.
And those that are following along on television can see that graphic there. The Tigers were projected, picked in the preseason coaches poll to finish out the top of the conference. Reinhardt also there with the Tigers, I think, totaling 21 points. And then, as Coach Thomas mentioned, you've got Faulkner and Lindsey Wilson, even though they're ranked higher in the national polls at 10 and 7 in terms of the conference rankings. they were voted to tie for a share of third place. So, like you said, Coach, it's going to get really interesting as the season plays out there on the west side.
Yeah, and it makes for exciting football for the fans. I mean, every weekend, including the crossover games when the other teams come, you're going to have to play, and it could go down to the end. I'm not sure anyone will go through undefeated. I mean, obviously we hope and pray we do, but it's going to be a battle every week. And if you just have an off day, where the receivers aren't playing well, or the turf isn't playing the way you want it to, then you could take an L from anybody in the league. So it's going to be a battle, but it's going to be fun. When you have those type of games as a coach, those are the ones you can't wait for the kickoff to come.
As Coach said, it's going to be a fun, exciting season. We'll step away, we'll come back, and we'll take a look at the Tigers' 2015 schedule here on the Perry Thomas Show. Thanks for joining us this week on the Perry Thomas Show, our first edition of the 2015 season. Matt Payton with you as we talk with Coach Thomas about the upcoming 2015 Tiger football season. And Coach, looking at that schedule, there are some new teams that are coming on, some teams that are falling off the schedule, but you open up with the Cumberlands Thursday night, right. and it's always important to get that first one out of the way. Yeah,
and it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a tough one. We played them without their starting quarterback last year, and he's back healthy from what I understand, and we don't know what changes they've made to their systems offensively and defensively. They do have a new defensive coordinator, Steve Jewell, longtime coach at Corbin High School here in the state, and so we don't know what changes they're going to make, and just like they don't know our changes. But 2 years ago, they were national runner-up. And they struggled a little last year before finishing strong at the end and returned, the bulk of their lineup. So we're expecting a tough game. It's a crossover game, but it's going to be a battle. They're going to come in and run that triple option, and you better be ready to go.
Well, as we take a look at the rest of the Tigers' schedule, after that game with Cumberlands on Thursday evening, the Tigers get a bit of a break before they head south. They'll take on Weber International, who will enter the preseason rankings as the 24th team in the country. Then a pair of new teams to the conference, or at least in terms of to our schedule, longtime conference members, but Union College as well as Bluefield. Then Faulkner, a big road game at Faulkner, the University of Pikeville. Then we get finish the season up 3 straight conference games, Bethel University, Cumberland University, Lindsey Wilson College. Coach, what stands out to you there when you take a look at that schedule for this season?
Well, also Reinhardt would be in there at the end. We'll play them late, but it's going to be a battle. Like we talked about, you're talking about 1, 2, 3 teams preseason top 25. Weber, if people remember that game last year, we were fortunate to win that game. Had to get a pick at the in the end zone to win the game. And then you got some new faces that we haven't seen in a while with the University of Union College, U-Pike is on there. Those are teams that we haven't played probably in 3-4 years now. So. Got new head coaches at both systems, so we don't really know what to expect from them. Bluefield College, they're going to come in. They were one of the top teams in the nation last year in rushing, and they're going to run option football out of the gun. And so it's going to be some different looks on there, but it's going to be challenges each week. And, we got a nice home schedule also. Got a couple of long road trips to Faulkner and Weber, so we'll get challenged early with those games.
Well, and one thing that diehard Tigers fans will notice when they look at that schedule, Coach, no Georgetown College on there. That rivalry, it's fun. It's a nice one to play. Personal feelings on not having Georgetown on the schedule.
I'd love to play them. Obviously, our schedule's tough enough, so them not being on there isn't a big hurt from our schedule standpoint. But personally, obviously, you love to play. They're a team that's here in the state that's easy travel for both squads and been playing for years, and there's been a few other times they haven't been on the schedule, and it's just the way it fell with the crossover games, and we don't choose the crossover games. Crossover games are selected by the commissioner. Now we can pick them up if we both have open dates, and when you look at the schedule, it wasn't able to work out this year, but I expect them to be back on there here in the coming years, maybe after a 2-year seasons, they'll be back on there. And Georgetown's ranked top 12, I think, in the nation right now, and they're going to have a great year.
Well, one good thing about it, if a rivalry team like Georgetown has to fall off the schedule, it's always nice to do that coming off a win.
Right.
So they've got the sour taste in their mouth in terms of the rivalry. Right. Coach, as we enter this new season, a lot of losses, a lot of great players have come and gone from last year's team. You start with the two guys that anchored the middle of your defense,
right.
and Daniel DeLeon, Blake Young. Also some tremendous wide receivers, Trevon Chapman, Demetrius Gibson, Neil Wilson were great playmakers for you on the outside. How do you overcome the losses of those guys? And talk to us about some of those names now that we should see filling in for them.
Well, it's tough to lose those guys. You talk about Chapman and Gibson and DeLeon and Young. They were all conference performers. Neil Wilson could have been all conference for anybody. And, you can just keep naming those guys. And so it's tough to lose them. What you have to do is you have to replace them with those guys that have been in the fold, been working hard. And, fortunately last year, because we did have a good year, we had a lot of guys to get experience playing out there. So they got some game time experience, which is different from just being in the program. They've been in the action and have been in the battles. So that's going to help us. And then you have to fix your systems to replace them somewhat. We don't have a Chapman, you don't have a Gibson, and if no one else comes in with that type of speed, then you have to kind of, tweak your passing game a little bit to take advantage of what you got. Same thing on defense, move people around a little. Which would be a challenge for us. Probably when you look at the newcomers, probably the biggest name returning is Jake Russell, obviously. Jake was listed as a senior last year, and because of the way things pan out with him going part-time in the NAIA rules, he comes back. So that gives us the ability to have another year out of, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Then we have a couple of guys I really don't want to say yet because they're still finishing up their eligibility, but they'll make a difference for us. Offensive line, we're as deep as we've been since we've been here. We feel like we have 9 to 10 guys on that offensive line that can go out there and compete for us, and we're bigger than we've ever been since I've been here, which, I don't like the big bulky bodies. I like guys that are big, but they can run, and these guys are like that. Three of them, I think, are freshmen, though. Including, John Chooney from here locally. Those guys will play substantial minutes for us this year. So we're going to ask them to come in and get some things done for us. We got some young linebackers that have been waiting their turns, and they've played quite a bit last year, but they're going to step in there. And I think we're going to be competitive. I think we're going, once we get some experience in a couple of those spots, most of our guys on the offense are back. We had a great deal on defense back. A couple guys didn't make it, but I think for the most part, we got some experience coming back. Our question mark will be our secondary some because we don't have much experience there. But I think the guys that we put out there on the field will play with a great deal of intensity, and some new faces will make a name for themselves quickly.
One name I want to mention real quick is that of Taj Milliken. Came into the season last year, looked like he was going to be the starter. You knew that might be a timeshare with Jake. Jake took the reins, and now it looks as if we may see Taj a little bit at the wide receiver position. Yeah. Talk about that transition.
Well, Taj is an athlete. He's a tremendous quarterback, and he will play some quarterback. There's a package in for him to play, and he will play in probably every game at some quarterback spot. But Taj is an athlete. Some of your backup quarterbacks, they're athletic in their own way, but they're not going to play another position. So if that starter's in there rolling, he's going to be in there. But with Taj, he needs to be on the field. So, he's very coachable. He's a fine young man, and he accepts this role of playing wide receiver for us. So he'll be, catching the ball and running those jet sweeps and so forth that we run. And he will get some reps at quarterback. And also Hunter Brown, we'll see him some at quarterback. And, depending on what we're doing with Taj in the package.
The Tigers get ready to kick off that season. It's Thursday night as the University of the Cumberlands comes to town. And we'll step away. We'll come back and we'll talk with Coach Thomas about that matchup with the Patriots from down the road. Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show. Matt Payton with you as we talk to Tiger head man Perry Thomas about the upcoming football season. And the Tigers get ready to kick it off Thursday night. The University of the Cumberlands comes to Finley Stadium. And, Coach, I know you love these night games.
Oh, yeah. It reminds me of my high school days. And, the atmosphere is just so different for night games. Even on a small campus, everyone gets excited about it. It's not a whole lot else going on. It's not like a Saturday afternoon. So it'll be a great atmosphere. It'll be a great atmosphere. The weather's been tremendous. You know, it's almost scary how cool it's been for a fall camp. And I think even Thursday, the high's going to be in the 78, 79 range. So by the time game comes, it's going to be low 70s to mid 70s. And it's going to be a nice night for some good football.
The one thing about those night games is kind of keeping the team focused and able to be ready there for that night game. You got all day just to kind of make it through classes and all those things. What are some challenges for you as a coach?
Well, you know, I kind of look at it once again like when I coached high school, and I think that's one of the benefits of coaching high school so many years is it's a game day. They're going to go to class, and then you'll have a little walkthrough, maybe, you know, have a team meal, and just then come ready to play. And I actually, to be honest with you, I like either a game early, like at 12 on a Saturday. I wish it could be 10, so you get up out of bed and you go play, or a night game on a weekday where you have classes to keep them occupied. You know, those Saturday night game days are tough because then you have to find things to keep them busy. But, you know, going to class, that's not going to wear them out.
Well, this Cumberlands matchup, Coach, it's a team that kind of had your number for several years. You talked about a few years ago, they were the national runner-up, and now you come into this game last year, a 58-12 win down in Williamsburg. You guys had your way. What can we expect? I know you said they've got some changes, but what do you expect?
Well, you know, we expect them to come in ready to go. You know, they had a tough year last year. They had got used to winning. I think 2 of the last 3 years, they have been either conference champions or co-champions, gone to the playoffs. Last year actually was the first time in 12 years that Campbellsville has beaten them. And they've kind of had the university's number in football for a long time there. And, you know, we expect them to come in with a chip on their shoulder, and not just for us, but for the full season, and prove to people that they haven't disappeared. And, you know, their quarterback's back, so they're going to be very confident. I think they returned like 15 guys of their top 2 on offense, and quite a bit on defense also. New coordinator on defense, a second-year coordinator, I think, on offense. So they're going to be a very good football team. They run the triple option, which is difficult anytime, but it's especially difficult to open with that because you have to not only be playing good, aggressive football, but you have to be playing sound, disciplined football. So you can't just get away with being athletic and flying around, which you can do sometimes in those opening games. So we're going to have to be very disciplined on defense and a responsibility sound on what we're doing. And then, you know, offensively, we're going to have to figure them out because we don't know what they're going to run on defense. So we're going to have to go in with our game plan and then just kind of adjust on the fly as we go, as they will have to do with us also.
Well, Coach, you got this opener Thursday night, first week of classes. Students are still excited. They haven't got into that, you know, mid-semester lull a bit. Message to the community and the students as you get ready to open.
Well, I mean, we want everyone to come out and support us. It's going to be a great year of football and athletics here at CU. You know, coming off of one of the best years of athletics ever here. And we're going to come back and back it up, you know. And I think it's important for us to get a win. You know, the community and the student body will stay behind us if we win early. So, you know, our guys understand that, and we're going to go out and compete and fly around and have a great time.
And the Tigers and the Patriots, Thursday night from Finley Stadium, 7 o'clock under the lights. The Tiger Tailgate Show begins at 6:30 p.m. You can catch that on WLCU TV, that's Comcast Cable Channel 10, Digital TV Channel 23, and you can also catch us on 88.7 The Tiger, again, beginning with the Tiger Tailgate Show in Allen Haven at 6:30. So we thank you for watching this week here on the Perry Thomas Show, and good luck to the Tigers as they take the field Thursday night. We'll see you next week on the Perry Thomas Show.